What's up everybody, Rob Ferretti here, and today I'm going to talk about car flipping. And why it's relevant is because yesterday's video was about me selling my 488 Spyder, and that instantly said to a bunch of people, that guy's a hypocrite. He doesn't like car flippers, he's flipping cars. Now, let me take a minute to explain what car flipping is and why I'm not flipping a car. You have to be able to separate the fact that somebody was able to make money off of something versus the intent of the purchase. Now, the car flipping is essentially buying a car with the intention of making money on it. So you're buying something not to use it, but you're buying, and you could say, you could flip anything. You could buy stocks are a perfect example. You buy them to flip them. You're not buying them for personal enjoyment. Cars are a little bit more involved, and that's why when you turn cars into a commodity like stocks or precious metals, or even people that go to a garage sale and buy stuff at a garage sale with the intent to resell it, that is what flipping is. Flipping is the purchase of something with the intent of finding a buyer who's going to give you more than you paid for it. Now, what you're doing in that situation is you're essentially acting as a dealer. And dealers are able to buy, and that's what they do regardless of Ferrari or exotics or Honda Civics. A dealer buys something at $1 and sells it for $1.20. That's just how they stay in business. That's how they're able to live their life. Now, in doing so, as an individual, it's a lot tougher to do, especially with cars, because cars, you have a tax burden when you purchase a car. And you run a risk. There's a couple of ways of buying a car and selling a car without paying tax on it. Number one is being a dealer. Dealers are protected with their dealer license that they're able to buy and sell without having to register the vehicle and pay tax upon registration. Most states, and I'll clarify most states because not all of them, require sales tax to be paid on the vehicle purchase price, whether it's upfront one time at the time of sale or yearly against the value of the car each year. It all depends on the state. Montana is a state which doesn't have that burden of a sales tax on vehicles. So if you live in Montana, go you. I'm not aware of any of the other states that actually do that as well, but Montana is definitely one of them that doesn't charge sales tax. So you have that sales tax burden. And if you're not a dealer, you don't have a company or live in Montana, which having a company in Montana also costs money. I've done a video on that, which you can check out. Another way to avoid paying tax is by selling the car through the dealer or trading it in. You get a tax credit in a lot of states. And I had the perfect example is I owned the Viper ACR. I had the dealer that sold my Viper, I had them purchase my GT3 and then sell it to me. So I had to give them $1,000 for that exercise. The dealer is not just going to buy a car and sell it to you. So by doing so, I was able through the state, I got a tax credit, and I only had to pay tax on the difference between the purchase. So if I sold the car for $76,000 and bought a car for $77,000, I'm only on the hook for $1,000 worth of sales tax. In my case, it was 7%, so it was 70 bucks in sales tax, which I was okay with, because otherwise I would have to pay 7% on the 78,000. Again, these numbers are all ballpark, and that saved me a lot of money. So it made more sense for me to give that dealer $1,000 to do that transaction, because it still saved me a couple of $1,000s. And lastly, you can keep the title open. Now, keeping the title open is dangerous, because when you buy a car, the ownership is transferred with the title. Here is your title, sir. The previous owner signs it over. You go register the car. Now you get a new title issued with your name on it. So you are now the owner of that property. The problem is, if you're trying to avoid paying tax, what you could do is you can leave the title open. So you have the previous owner sign it, and you sort of just hold on to it. Now you can't plate it, you can't drive it on the road because it's not registered. A dealer can, because they receive dealer tags which are transferable to different vehicles. The risk you run is if somebody wants to go apply for a duplicate title on your car that you purchased, they can do so. So they could technically be the owner on your car. Now, it's a little bit of a risk, but not really. It really depends on who you're buying or selling from. but they could make a legal claim to owning that car because you are not doing what you're supposed to do and registering the car and transferring ownership properly. Now, that could go into lawyers and you could sue back and forth, and you'll probably be able to claim your property and whatever, but it's going to cost you money to do that. It's going to be a headache to do that. So I really don't recommend keeping a title open as a way to avoid paying sales tax. So now you have a car that you've purchased and you have a sales tax burden that you have to overcome. You have essentially the cost of borrowing to overcome if you have to borrow the money in the process of flipping that. And you have to insure the car, because if you're buying something with a value, you at least, even if you're not driving it, want to have it insured. So there is a carrying cost on your flip each month. Now, with my 488, I purchased the car with the intention of keeping it. If I were to flip that car, I would turn around and sell it in month one. Now, Ferrari doesn't like when you do that, but there's nothing preventing me from doing that. And there was a market premium of almost $100,000 when I received my 2017 car. That wasn't the motivator. Now, if I make $20,000, great. I've always been very clear with my intentions on buying and selling cars. I buy them because I enjoy them. And my goal is always to try to break even. If I could lose a couple of bucks, I lose a couple of bucks. If I make a couple of bucks, I make a couple of bucks. It doesn't really matter to me where I fall. Like, just being able to own cars and drive them essentially for free is such a victory in my book. And it's funny that if I bought the 488 and sold it, which I could have sold it without even pissing off Ferrari 3 months ago and gotten more money for it, but I wanted to drive it. So now the question is like, well, does that make you a flipper or not? Because people are looking at it and rightfully, or not, I don't even know it's rightfully so, but I can understand the point of view is that you don't like when somebody buys something that you like and they sell it and they've actually made money on it. And you don't like when a rich guy buys a property for $5 million because he has it, which you'd love to have that property. Then he sells it for 10 and you're like, oh shit, that guy just made $5 million just for owning a property. It's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's nice to be in a position where you can do that. Now, with this car, if I sell it for 20 over what I paid for it, I had a cost of borrowing. I mean, there were other costs involved. The cost of insuring it. I was almost $3,000 a year to insure that car. So like, there's not really money to be made here. I'm just sort of breaking even. And even if I do make $7 grand or $5 grand or even break even, or it cost me $5,000, that's tremendous to me because I was able to drive a brand new 488 Spyder for almost a year for free, essentially, at that point in time. And that's essentially always my goal. So a car flipper, I don't believe I am. I will leave that to you guys. I understand it's easy to say he owned something and made more money on it. I'm just sort of taking advantage of a market condition. If I was in this to make money, that car would have been long gone a while ago. I wouldn't have driven it, I would have parked it, and it would have been like the cars that I pointed out with 100 miles, 30 miles, delivery miles that are sitting at the dealers being sold because they were purchased with the intention of resale. That's not why I got into it. I'll let you guys post your thoughts below, but there's the story. That is what car flipping is. That is, there's the ways to avoid sales tax or the other costs associated with it. Feel free to speak freely in the comments. I'm sure you will. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I've got a story about this 360, which you're going to find out about very soon in the coming week, and we will take it from there. Thank you, and I will see you next time.